Seascapes, after Hiroshi Sugimoto. Seascape, dusk, the ocean flowing softly, gently. There is nothing underneath the sky but me, ship floating on endless folds of green salt skin. My favorite time of day is now, the end, when the boundaries blur. Light and dark, the sun and the moon at equal heights and equal depths reflected on the water. Nothing holds in this moment. Think of a flat day without wind. There's no difference here between death and living. They glide in silently at dusk together on the ghost ship. Of course, there's always wind, as there's always water, every drop but none to drink. I cannot drink from my own body, my skin, lines of light, fading, frothy surf. The voice of ocean waves inside my head sounds like me talking to you. In Big Sur, Kerouac wrote poems of their sounds. He had forgotten that the ocean has no words. Sea poet. I wish I could forget. I wish the whirring in my skull could tell you anything. Nothing means the things we want it to. It sounds like everything at once. The sun is setting, the purple sky beautiful unless we're locked in it. So many times. Love is bruise-colored. I'm talking to you, but the Pacific between us, flowing. It's just another day. The ship rolls gently. We move forward, but ahead and astern are the same. I can't tell that the horizon curves. They told me, so I just believed that thin dark line in the distance. A bead of sweat rolls down my face. The waves form and then embrace the hull, lifting us up, putting us down. Being here in the middle of nowhere is just the same as being anywhere. Being anywhere is just the same as not being, is just the same as being here, not being here. My cabin has a desk under a porthole over a photo that I posted on the bulkhead. I love it because I can sit and watch that water and that picture, us together, our first weekend. I sent you a copy that you left at home. I realize now that you do not know how it feels to be alone. I don't think that you know the sea or what it really means, what the sea means to me. I should have known before or noticed. I should have known. I should. Standing here at the railing, I look from the outside of that porthole and away. I find reasons to end everything before anything has happened. What it means to be alone, what it means to know. Inside our mother, my twin and I had a special language. The only word of it I know feels like levitation. The only word my body knows of movement means to float. My only memory is drowning, a hope to become the air above the ocean. Lifted up above the surf we will become. Emerge, emerge, emerge. I find myself instead suspended. You gasped in awe when we gazed at long exposure photos of horizon. How could he shoot 3 hours on a rolling boat, you asked. The answer, he didn't. The photographs were taken from cliffs along the shore. How could he stare just at horizon for so long, I asked. Of course, the answer, he didn't. The series is called Seascapes. The photographs are truly of the sea. In them, the waves break down, the lines are lost in ink. The longer we stare, the more unshapely we become inside the ocean's image. I wrote you a poem to tell you I'm the moon, but you still believe I'm filled with sunshine. What are these lines of light? What is the moon's true shape? Once a month, she fades away. They say she rules the tides, but she is also bound by endless cycles. Are we all destined towards becoming shapeless, empty, in order to be full again? There hasn't been a storm for days. For days. For days the ship rolled from port and starboard palms, fingernails uncut, digging, leaving salt on hull sides, threats. We will be devoured. Let us. Paint us into a classic saltwater portrait. How closely can we recreate something so vast? Zoom in your lens onto a single grain of salt. Even the largest ships dissolve in time. Paint the deepest trenches in cross-section. That whale won't matter. How small a human floating is. Man overboard. Man lost at sea. Man sea. When a sailor falls over, we throw orange rings we have no hope of ever finding. We throw anything unnatural in the water to have something to stare at, come back to, lock in vision, stare for hours. Man lost at sea, man see, can you see? I too have stared at the ocean for hours, days. Have you? What you feel in the pictures is the ends of the world. I know the spaces in between. I know myself vanishing. What ocean am I in? They're all the same. I wonder, staring at the sun, how long until I'm blind, years or seconds. If I close my eyes, I could be anywhere. If I were blind, I'd wonder why the oceans always looked the same but smelled so different with my heightened senses. I long for the space between my ribs to be licked by rogue waves, tickled, teased, and cracked open, my chest bleeding salt and filled by it. I settle for the pink rays of sunset on my face. The seabirds circle us. Above the ship they rise together, higher, the clouds become their wings. They disperse, dissolving into moisture. I will remember them the next time that it rains. Now the ship rolls, and I think of us splitting open, our belly buttons unfolding and spilling out. With our skins peeled back, we have no outlines. Like the oceans, we flow inside each other. I've always craved another body of water. I twist my mouth upwards. I reach out and shout, I want. My belly bloats with swollen ache. I have always wanted to drown, to take away my body in words. I fade, I reach out, teach me how to swim. My fingers curl tight around your upper arms. Now, the seabirds glide in winds that form the currents, or do the currents guide the winds, whose fingertips stir so skillfully? Wings dip gently just below the surface. Imagine a bird hitting the wrong wave, the cracking of bone, a loss of flight. Then the air would fall into the ocean. I used to think of albatrosses only as large and heavy pendants or cloud shapes or omens or promises or crosses hung on silver necklaces around the throat skin of the sun, but they are just birds. Now dream of flying in gusts made of salt. Do albatrosses live their whole lives here? What would a life be without land? On the horizon, they look like salt grains. They cross over the edges of the earth and disappear. The first times we had sex, I couldn't focus on your face. It kept changing in my vision, and I couldn't remember who you were. I would lose your name, even. Your chin grew longer, your teeth buckled, your hair shortened into your skull. Cheeks blew out and filled the room. Your skin paled. You had no outline, no border, no not me, no not me, no not me. I wanted to chant your name out loud, stop myself from pouring into you, but I didn't. I dove. Now we have the world between us, our solid lines. When did this happen? Our skins forming. Maybe they grew right in front of my eyes. With everything tied down with rope so it won't move when the ship rolls, I thought I could stay secure. Distracted, I missed it shifting. The lines will never hold. Hemp lines, steel lines, last lines. I search for new ways to write about the sea, but there is nothing new to say. The ocean is too old, ancient. The ocean is a language of its own, the simplest. There's no translation to be made, no thoughts, no words, just the crests and troughs that mean to float, suspend, dissolve. The story of life, beginning, primordial being, human being, ocean. Nothing begins or ends at the shoreline or horizon. If the earth cracked open, stopped being round, the water would pour over the edge into eternity. Lineage means nothing. Words mean nothing. Empty lines of words. Waves. Sea poet, sea poet, sea poet. Waves of words mean nothing. The ocean does not end. The same voices, same stories. The ocean is too old. How could I add a whisper by losing my body, flushing my cheeks? I will swallow and swallow until I am filled. I discover my skin buzzing even when I am still. I shake my head and grind my teeth to be moving. There are spaces inside movements to hide in, those places where we're from and are going, between my hand on your knee and then your upper thigh, pieces of a body not mine, to blur with, to become, to forget in, cold spaces inside bodies. I search for new ways to say empty, but there's never been a better way to talk about the sky above the long arms, water reaching around the ship, hyperextended. The horizon is still impossible to touch, the void between me and the end, eternal. A stranger sent a screenshot of my body on the beach. This makes me so hard, he said. And when I posted it, I was thinking of him. In brown sandstone nipples, ridged waves breaking off pieces to keep the crashing water, taking sand grains, skin eroding, stony skeleton. I was thinking of him and not being. The waves hit the beach in the background. Now the waves hit the hull of the ship. I want to go to the rail, jump over, eyes closed in the moonlight. No splash, feet first, let in the salt, my nostrils wide and water cold, bleeding into the ocean, salt, into salt, into salt. Floating body, fading light. Nothing will ever be swallowed enough. I will never be empty enough or full. Salt lips, crust fingers, eyelids. Emerge, emerge, emerge. Finally, I realize I can float. It is so hard to own an outline, a body, but I will. Sea poet, sea poet, sea, sea, sea. My knuckles shine white on the railing. I back away. I know myself. The voice of ocean waves inside my head is me talking to you. When you look up at night, know I see you. There is only one moon. I love your shape, but I will not try to drown inside it. It is dark, but for the stars and moonlight. The sun has dipped like a wing below water. My favorite time of night is now beginning. Boundaries forming. I am and can be both the sunlight and the moon. I ask the ocean to fill me. I know this body can hold so much more inside dotted lines of light. I shout into the dark. Can you hear me?